Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance of fair use. Romeo Nance was a 23-year-old man that snapped and unalived 8 people, with 7 of them being his family members, in a city called Joliet Township outside of Chicago. To every story, there's a backstory to help you further understand why things happen. These are the stories of the wicked streets of Chicago.
More light shed today on the horrific killing of 8 people in Joliet.
Yeah, police are retracing the path of the killer to his death in Texas.
We just don't have any clue as to why he did what he did.
Police responded to an emergency call at Pheasant Run Apartments in Joliet Township, where they discovered Toyasi Bakar, 28, had suffered a gunshot wound to the head. Bakar was rushed to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. An hour before responding to the Pheasant Run Apartments call, Joliet police officers responded to the 200 block of Davis Street, where they said they discovered a 42-year-old man who had sustained a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to his leg. Police began watching the home on West Acres as part of an investigation into the 2 shootings that had taken place that Sunday. Officers knocked on the house door they were watching before noon Monday, but went to a nearby house when they got no response. They knew that the house across the street was related to the individuals that resided at that house. They walked over there, and that's when they discovered the blood and made entry into the house to look for injured individuals. When they entered the house, they found 2 individuals unalive. After finding this, they went back to the first residence where they found 5 more victims DOA. The victims were Romeo's mother, 47-year-old Tamika Nance, his aunt, 38-year-old Christine Estes, his uncle, 35-year-old William Estes II, his brother, who was bedridden, 31-year-old Joshua Nance, and all 3 of his sisters, Alexandria, Alona, and one whose name was not given because of her age. According to police officers, after Romeo shot 2 random people, he changed his license plates and headed to Natalia, Texas, where he was tracked to a gas station. Upon coming in contact with the police, he took his own life. So the theory is that Romeo got into it with one of his family members, got mad, snapped, grabbed his gun and shot that particular family member. After he realized what he had done, in his mind, it was already too late. He went ahead and cleared the whole house, never minding the fact that these was his own brothers, sisters, cousins, and even parents. He then went to the other house that he knew he had family at and killed them as well. After this, I think that Romeo had already made up in his mind that it was over with and that at some point he was going to take his own life. So he went on a kamikaze mission, shooting 2 other people and killing 1.
I've been a policeman 29 years. This is probably the worst crime scene I've ever been associated with.
I believe that Romeo was trying to make it to the border. And I also believe that he told himself if he got caught before he made it to the border, then he was going to go ahead and execute himself, so he wouldn't have to deal with the consequences of his actions. After all, after what he did, there was really nothing to live for. You took almost everybody that you loved and that probably loved you, and anybody else that was left would never forgive you for what you did. And even if you would have made it to the border, 9 times out of 10, he probably still wouldn't have made it into Mexico. Even if he did make it into Mexico, he probably still wouldn't have got away with it. I think that all of that was just last option, quick thinking, And I think that what we can learn from the story of Romeo is this. In the black community, mental health is something that we rarely talk about. It's something that we don't like to deal with. This is why a lot of things happen to our children, and our children are traumatized from a young age, and we don't know how to respond or what to do, and our children grow up and they become monsters. People go through mental illnesses, but we take it lightly. When they say they're going to do stuff to themselves, when they say they feel like this or feel like that, a lot of times we laugh it off, not realizing how serious it is. It's not until something like this happens that we realize that the person really needed help. But by then, it's too late. For Romeo to unalive his sisters, his brother, his uncles, and most of all his mother, the person whose womb that he climbed out of, something had to really be off with this guy mentally. When someone comes to you and they're pleading to you and they're crying out to you, listen to them. Because when we ignore them, these are the type of things that happen. I remember a time where it used to be where only white folks did stuff like this. But now, every time you turn around, it's one of us doing this to us. And you ask yourself why. All of the years of trauma, all of the years of tears and pain, eventually that stuff comes to surface. And when it does, it explodes every time. It's like having feelings bottled up, and when they come out, you explode. And 9 times out of 10, the person you explode on is not the reason why you had those feelings. We need to start accepting the fact that we're not okay. Most of us are not okay. Therapy is okay. Talking to people is okay. What's not okay is doing things that you can't take back. Things that, when it comes down to it, one way or the other, you are going to take yourself out behind. There's no love like a mother's love. And for you to do that to your mother, something had to really be wrong, man. This is just another example that people are going through real problems and PTSD out here. People are unhinged. You know, you got to be careful out here and pay attention to people. Be aware. Pay attention to how you treat people. You know, try to do the right thing by people, because you never know when something crazy can happen. This has been another episode of Wicked Streets of Chicago. It's your boy, SNTV. I'm out.